It's been almost I think it's almost 10 hours snowing until now. Didn't it stop yet. Tuloy-tuloy ang pagbuhos ng snow. Hindi pa nagbabawas, hindi pa nagbabago. So mamayang gabi siguro mga 12 na to, mga 12 inches na to. For now it's like 6 to 8 inches. At ang malungkot lang po nito ay masyadong malakas ang hangin. Ito yung aking batayan na malakas ang hangin. Look at that. Ayan. This is my backyard. It's really covered with all the ice. This is like almost 5 inches or 6. Look at that. My front yard besides the highway. And this is my front house. This is my front page of my house. The view outside is really fantastic. It's really good. passes anymore. It's covered by the snow.
Well, good morning, and thank you for joining our briefing today. North Carolina is now feeling the effects of a winter storm that'll continue to move through the state today. As much as 8 to 12 inches of snow has fallen in some counties, and significant icing is causing trouble in the central part of the state. Conditions vary across North Carolina and are dangerous in many areas. Utility companies are working to open up a short section of I-95 in Robeson County that's been closed because of a low-hanging, ice-covered power line. Currently, traffic is moving through a short detour. There have already been a number of wrecks on our roads, and we'll have some specifics about that in a minute. For today, the best way to avoid a car accident or getting stranded is to stay put. Fewer people on the road means fewer car crashes. Plus, it allows highway crews and utility workers to get faster results. If you must travel, reduce your speed, increase your following distance, and be sure to clear all the snow and ice off your vehicle before traveling. As predicted, ice and wind has caused power outages. More than 41,000 homes and businesses were reported without power across the state as of 11:30 a.m. And that number, unfortunately, is likely to grow. Some counties have opened or are preparing to open shelters for people who are without power and heat. You can find a listing of open shelters at readync.gov. If your power does go out and you're trying to stay warm at home, remember to keep generators outside and away from open windows or doors to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. Never burn charcoal or use a gas grill indoors. And remember to only use 911 for a true emergency. Power outages should be reported to your utility company. We've all been getting ready for this storm for several days, and a number of our state agency leaders are here with us today to brief on preparation and response. Joining me today are Transportation Secretary Eric Boyette, Public Safety Secretary Eddie Buffalo, Colonel Freddie Johnson, the commander of the North Carolina State Highway Patrol, Emergency Management Chief of Staff Don Campbell, and Major General Todd Hunt of the North Carolina National Guard. Our American Sign Language interpreter is Nicole Fox, and behind the scenes, Jackie and Jasmine Mativier are our Spanish language interpreters. First, we'll hear from Emergency Management Chief of Staff Don Campbell. Don?
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon. The State Emergency Operations Center remains activated, and we're monitoring conditions across the state. The State Emergency Response Team stands ready to assist state and local partners as needs arise. There are 25 counties that have declared a state of emergency, and 24 counties have opened their county emergency operations centers in support of the storm. We are receiving a variety of resource requests to support our local partners. Many are for high clearance vehicles and Humvees from the National Guard, and requests from chainsaw crews to clear down trees. Those requests are coming in mainly from the counties in our west. Shelters and warming centers are opening to assist residents who have lost power. Currently, there are 3 shelters or warming centers open in Moore, Warren, and Iredell counties, and a few others are on standby throughout the state. If your power goes out, we remind you to report that directly to your electric utility provider. Please don't dial 911 and use that only for emergencies. And don't forget to call or to use readync.gov website for the latest information on power outages, shelters that are open, and more. That's readync.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Next, we will hear from Department of Transportation Secretary Eric Boyette.
Thank you, Governor. Travel is treacherous across much of our state. Many of the routes are covered with snow and ice in western and central North Carolina. If you do not need to be out on the roads today, please stay put. This will allow NCDOT crews, law enforcement, and our emergency responders to do their work. We have more than 1,600 NCDOT employees and contractor resources are out working around the clock to clear our roads across the state. We are utilizing over 1,700 trucks and graders. We are also ready with chainsaws and heavy equipment to cut and shove any downed trees. In the western North Carolina, crews worked overnight and are continuing to plow snow-covered roads, and crews in our central North Carolina areas, including Charlotte, have been salting trouble spots and roads and bridges since early this morning. Around the state, we have used more than 1,600 tons of salt and almost 200 tons of a mixture of salt and sand to de-ice our roads. Those numbers obviously are going to increase throughout the day and tomorrow. NCDOT is focused on clearing our interstates, then our primary and our secondary routes in that order. Travel is not recommended across much of North Carolina as we continue to do our work. If travel is necessary, please do not drive. The storm is also impacting eastern North Carolina with high rain and high winds. Due to the high winds, we have temporarily suspended our Soundside ferry routes to Ocracoke and the route to Southport. We've also scaled back our Cherry Branch ferry route. Heavy rain could lead to some of the flooding in eastern North Carolina, so please never drive through our flooded roads. Understand that like all industries, NCDOT staff and our contract resources have been impacted by COVID-19 and labor shortages. We may not be able to respond in your area as quickly as we have in the past, but please stay home and stay safe as our crews and contract resources are getting the roads opened as soon as possible. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Secretary Boyette. Now we'll hear from Colonel Freddie Johnson, the commander of the North Carolina Highway Patrol. Colonel Johnson.
Thank you, Governor Cooper. And I want to start by saying thank you as well to the members in patrol communication centers across the state and members responding to help those in need. Your work is appreciated. The State Highway Patrol has, as expected, experienced an increase in call volume in affected areas, and we know this is just the beginning. Troopers have been working throughout the morning responding to collisions and other calls for service in the western and central portions of our state. As of this morning, we have responded to 460 calls for service and 200 collisions in affected areas, and those numbers continue to grow. If you must get out onto the roadways, please make sure you increase your following distance, monitor your speed, and be alert for downed trees and power lines in the roadway. Emergency responders are making every effort to respond to calls for service as fast as we can while keeping their safety in mind as well. If you encounter first responders, NCDOT crews, or any that are working along our roadways, please move over and reduce your speed. It could save a life. For up-to-date roadway conditions, please visit drivenc.gov, and please avoid calling 911 or Star HP unless it is an emergency. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Colonel Johnson. Please don't take unnecessary chances with this dangerous winter storm. Stay put and stay safe. I want you to know, too, that we are very grateful for the people out there who are working hard right now in the cold. Our law enforcement, our emergency responders, our utility crews, and our Department of Transportation people who are working so hard. We're grateful for them, and we'll be back with any necessary updates. Thank you.
Once again, higher snow totals would be up in the mountains 6 to 12 inches there. Once you get into areas, say over towards the mountains of Burke County, Caldwell County, in that area, we're talking about 4 to 6 inches along the I-40 corridor, 2 to 4 inches of snowfall, a definite possibility. I think one of the major issues would be the ice. Now, this is first warned Doppler radar. What we're seeing right now, once you get up Interstate 77 northbound or Interstate 40 east and west, that's all snow. From Charlotte south, we're seeing kind of a mix of some snow and sleet at the moment. I think that's really going to be the situation here locally all day today. Areas of green, that indicates a cold rain. It's getting into the atmosphere. We're starting to, as it falls, it hits at the surface and freezes over. So we're seeing sleet, freezing rain, all snow north and west of here. That's the situation today. And to expanding the view to show there's more out there, notice this wraparound effect from that area of low pressure. Moisture is headed our way on and off all day today. So the potential is there certainly for a lot of major problems with the amount of sleet, freezing rain and snow that we get right here in the Charlotte area. Roads will be treacherous today. Over the next several hours, temperatures not much above the freezing mark. Once again, you can see that precipitation is all day today. Now, the big question, will it continue through tonight and tomorrow? We'll check all that and a look at the next 7 days coming up in just a few minutes, man.
Larry, thanks. Now,
dark there, it's windy and it's snowing. That's downtown West Jefferson, North Carolina, up in Ashe County. We scanned the skies at Beach Mountain, kind of pan the camera around and show you there's heavy snow up there. They obviously get a lot of snow up there. And we take a look at Boone, where there's a little bit of traffic going on, where the streets are covered in snow. They're expecting they've already had around 4.5 to 5 inches, expecting maybe another 7 inches. And then a couple people on the streets. Well, let's take a look at those tree limbs right there. They're moving. There's a lot of wind. So at the moment, winds have calmed down. But later today in Boone, they're going to see winds gusting over 55 miles per hour there. And more local, we talk about Rock Hill, South Carolina. Once again, it looks like a winter wonderland. That's mainly sleet that has fallen there, a little bit of rain, freezing rain mixing in with that. Here it is for the Charlotte metro area, the entire region. Here's what we're looking at today. Sleet continues right through late afternoon, maybe into early evening. And as far as freezing rain, that's the ice that we get. We're talking about anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 inch possible. Those higher totals up about 1/2 inch, that could cause some major issues with power outages. And as far as driving, it is very icy. I would say the best thing to do is avoid driving at all today and tomorrow morning as well. As far as power outages, we've already heard reports of that scattered, and that will probably increase throughout the afternoon into the evening. Take a look at futurecast. This is this morning. Right now, we're looking at kind of that sleet, freezing rain mixture here, north of here, Taylorsville, Greensboro, all the way to Morgan, up into the mountains. We saw the picture of West Jefferson. That is all snowfall there. Take you to another hour, basically the same. This is around 2:30 this afternoon. Notice the amount of rainfall over in areas around Rockingham and Waysboro. Their temperature is going to be right around 35 degrees, so that is a cold rain there. But once that starts to reach into the colder environment above us, then we start to see that rain turn into freezing rain, maybe some sleet here, and maybe a little bit of sleet mixing in up in the North Carolina mountains. 5 o'clock this afternoon. That is more of that kind of icy mix from Statesville to Taylorsville in the mountains, maybe a little bit of a break here. And then we see at around 9 o'clock tonight across the area, maybe some light snow, a change over to all snow from Charlotte to Lancaster all the way across parts of the upstate of South Carolina. First one Doppler radar right now. We're looking at snowfall across the mountain communities all the way along the I-40, I-77 corridor up into Virginia, and from Charlotte south. That's kind of that mix of sleet and freezing rain and all heavy rainfall once you get down towards Charleston and South Carolina. We'll take a look at the bigger view, and you can see that spin from that area.
in the snow, this is usually 5 lanes of traffic. Keep in mind, folks. This is usually bumper to bumper traffic on a given weekday. And this person is now stranded out of their car, and cars are having to go around it. Trooper Pierce, give me a sense. Is this what you're seeing all across the greater Charlotte area?
It is. The majority of our travel at this time is on the interstate. We do have less traffic on the surface streets. The interstate DOT has been very good about plowing those ever since the weather became inclement. But those surface streets, the city streets, and those state-maintained roads out in the county are still extremely slick. But we are seeing several vehicles that are not driving slow enough. That is the big thing we're telling people, unless you have to, and using their brakes to control their speed. We need to remind people that in weather like this, your accelerator is what should control your speed. If you use that to slow your speed down, you're going to reduce the opportunity to lose traction when you're on these icy roadways.
Yeah, and something that people don't think about enough. We spoke to the folks at Medic earlier, and they said that actually they felt like It had been a slower day for them, at least so far, because they felt like people were staying off the roads up until this point. Understanding that may very well change. How about for you all? Has it been a busy morning, or have you been somewhat pleased to see folks staying off the road?
We have been pleased. Luckily, this storm has fallen. They've been cooped up in the house, and it seems like after 12, 2 or 3 o'clock is when we see an uptick in the amount of our calls for service. But today we haven't seen that large influx of calls that we typically do on these inclement weather days. We're bracing up for tomorrow to be the worst call day, with everyone returning back to work.
Yeah, and that's what our forecasters and meteorologists are worried about as well. Tomorrow morning's commute could be a real issue. All right, Trooper, thank you so much. Be safe. Here's hoping that the quiet remains over the course of the next few hours for all the fine folks over at Highway Patrol. And as we go to break, folks, take a look. This is a picture of the car stuck on 277. This is the loop that goes around Uptown, seeming to get out of its rut with the help of a fellow pedestrian. We will keep our eye on this situation and keep you updated throughout the morning. Also, expecting to hear from the governor about this winter storm coming up.
In the 20s, but we're all seeing very different things, and that's because we have warmer air working in above the surface. Kind of hard to explain, but it really can mess things up for us precipitation-wise. Let's also talk about wind speed. This is what the wind speeds are right now. To add insult to injury, not only do we have the winter precipitation, we have the cold temperatures, we also have the winds picking up. We're talking about winds about 25 miles an hour in Gastonia, 20 in Charlotte, 22 in Shelby, 21 in Monroe. And that means a couple different things. For one thing, it means it's cold outside, and it makes it feel even colder. Look at these current temperatures. This is what it feels like outside. If you're in Shelby, if you're in Gastonia, it feels like 8 degrees. That is cold. Feels like 10 in Boone, 9 is what it feels like in Hickory, 11 in Statesville and Salisbury. Even here in the Charlotte area, it feels like 14 degrees. So those are pretty serious temperatures if you don't even add in the winter precipitation. So let's talk about our watches and warnings now. We have a lot of salt. You and I walked out there yesterday. There was a lot of salt down, but now it's
hours on the interstate. You're seeing it on the overpass. And for the Charlotte metro area, at least, snow is pretty much done. And now we're dealing with sleet and the concerns of that freezing rain.
Yeah, and that's the bad news, because what you're seeing right here, this was overnight.
This is old news now.
It is old news. This has already happened. This is when the snow was falling. It was beautiful. We came into the station this morning. The snow was falling. It looked nice. It felt nice. But as we went through the morning show, just hour after hour, we would start to hear it was really loud as you went outside. That's because it turned over to sleet. And now what we're talking about is the potential
plows out. They've been putting down salt. They have been plowing, but you can see that as cars have continued to go over it, and we've been getting a lot of slow. It's looking a little slushy. It's looking like it's a little slippery. This morning I've seen at least